Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to run through a few transfer stories, including one which has maybe given us some insight as to how the club will try and recruit this summer. And for the majority of you watching this, I'm sure you'll find it very, very good news. A bit of a change from previous years. Are we seeing the back end of project signings? The reports seem to suggest so. Let's talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we try and get towards 50,000 subs this year. Your support so far this summer has been incredible, so let's keep that up as we head into another busy week, and hopefully a week where things will get cooking for Celtic. On that note, we have a few things to talk about this afternoon, so shall we start with the big story broken by Football Scotland earlier on today. Now, in recent years, Celtic have come under fire from their own supporters for their recruitment policies and the transfer strategies. We haven't recruited successfully enough. There has been too many dud signings, and more often than not, we hear the phrase project players thrown around, and a lot of fans getting sick with these project players. Celtic tend to sign young and try and sell on for profit whenever the time is right. However, this isn't always a successful method of business, as we know. Sometimes we sign these project players, these younger players, and it doesn't work out. They don't play enough for Celtic, they aren't good enough to play for Celtic, and in the end we end up losing them for minimal profit or sometimes no profit whatsoever. Last season, we know how the summer transfer window went. I'll remind you on screen of the transfers that we made last year, the players that came in. It wasn't a very successful transfer window. Our signing of the season, in fact, was probably Adam Ida, who was a loan signing from Norwich in the January transfer window. In regards to our full-on permanent signings, there wasn't many successful ones. Players like Gustav Lagerbielke, players like Yang, who came in, who were meant to be okay, who were going to develop and were going to be big players in the future, look like they might not have any futures at all at the club, which has left fans obviously quite pessimistic about how we go about things. However, an interesting article came out this morning saying that this summer it's different at Celtic. We're not saying that the young player method and the project player thing altogether is being ditched entirely by the club. Of course, that's always going to be a very important part of Celtic's recruitment, but this summer it seems the priority could be on experience. So this article from Mark Hendry was published this morning on Football Scotland, saying that the path is opened for Flavius Danulic, of course, as the club chase established stars. Celtic want new faces in the door sooner rather than later. So this was a general transfer bulletin article giving us the update on all linked players at the moment. However, the point that we want to talk about the most here was later on in the article, when Mark Hendry stated this, that Football Scotland can reveal that the club are looking to find signings that come with a more established reputation this summer. Rodgers and his recruitment staff have been accused in recent times of bringing in too many project players to Glasgow, but sources have told Football Scotland experienced players are being targeted ahead of untested youngsters. That won't halt the traditional philosophy of buying cheap to sell high, but the likes of Danulic, who is still just 23 years of age, with experience in Serie A and Ligue 1 under his belt. So this summer, the priority at Celtic seems to be on experience over youth, over potential sell-on value. They want to improve the team for the here and now. Ultimately, we need to bring in players who are going to enhance our chances of actually making a dent in European competition. Brendan Rodgers came in last year. Remember, he sat down at the press conference at Celtic Park on his first day in the job and said, I have been promised that things are different. I have been promised I will be back. He made it very clear that there was ambitions between him and the board to help drive this club forward to the next level. We didn't see much evidence of that last summer, and it was a big question when we were struggling at points last season. Has Rodgers been sold a dream? Has he been lied to? Was he lying to us? Is this finally the summer where Celtic pull up their big boy pants and get the work done? I think this is brilliant news. It's something that Celtic have had to do for a long, long time. Of course, transfers and recruitment in Scotland is never easy. For Celtic, it's never a walk in the park, and it's always risky. You know, you either need to go and spend money, to sign young players who might become good enough and might not, which is a risk, or you need to go and spend even bigger money on established players who might come in and be duds. We've seen it before plenty of times. The last time that we spent really big on an established player, maybe you can talk about Vasilis Barkas. He was one of the last ones. Didn't work out. It was a big risk. It was a big gamble. We spent £6 million, and he turned out to be one of the worst goalkeepers in the existence of Celtic Football Club. But football is a risk. Recruitment is a risk. And without taking these risks, you risk being left behind. You are putting yourself in the position where you can't compete with the clubs over Europe who are signing experienced players, who are spending money. And it's about time that Celtic finally try and join that race. Now, listen, our transfer methods, our philosophy has been successful on numbers of occasions. You know, we've brought in some great young players, sold them on for much higher fees and made a lot of money. But ultimately, are they players who have had the minerals or the know-how to take us forward, to drive us forward when it comes to the UEFA Champions League? No, evidently not, because it's not worked out for us. We've failed to win a knockout tie in over 20 years. We've struggled to make it through the groups on numerous occasions. And I think a big part of that is the fact that we don't have players who can come in and really match that experience required. This summer's huge for Celtic, and I, for one, am absolutely delighted to see that we are prioritising experience over youth, and hopefully we get, the proof of that very, very soon. I feel like this is going to be fantastic news for those who are fed up of the project signing mantra here at Celtic. For years now, I have seen a lot of people angry, a lot of people upset in my comments section over the standard of player that we do sign. And I don't think you can paint the same picture for every player. I don't think you can tar them all with the same brush. Some players have established themselves as great signings, coming in at a young age, but obviously some have kind of failed to the wayside a little bit, and they haven't made much of a Celtic career apart from being that photo they got when they came through the door. And there's been too many players like that in recent times. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Mark Hendry in this article also gave us a brief update on some of these players and some of the players who maybe match this criteria of more established and senior players. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. But I hope this means that Rodgers is getting backed, with Matt O'Reilly due to leave the club for a big fee, with the money that we're going to pull in from all these other areas, whether it be sell-on clauses, Champions League money, whether it be transfers, whatever. With all the money that's coming in, Rodgers should be getting backed, get the players required to make a dent in Europe. Look, I'm not saying we're going to get to the Champions League final, semi-final, quarter-finals anytime soon, especially in this new league phase where it's, going to be practically impossible for Celtic to win a European trophy ever again. But listen, if we can try and get through and actually compete against teams and give fans something more to be confident about in the grounds, that's a great first step. So here's the update on each player in this article from Mark Hendry. Peter Vindal Jensen up first, who remains a priority in terms of goalkeepers. The club are still discussing a possible deal with Sparta Prague, but there has been no breakthrough found yet. Paulo Bernardo, we're going to come on to him in a moment. There has been a stumbling block with his wages. We're going to talk about that. Flavius Danulic, as we all know, the Austrian centre-half, who we've spoke about quite a lot in the last few days, his option to buy for Red Bull Salzburg has not been triggered. Sources have confirmed to Football Scotland that no official offer has arrived from Celtic yet, but he is one being monitored. And then finally, Bournemouth's Chris Mepham, also on the radar, but like Danulic, Bournemouth are not in formal discussions with Celtic. He remains just of interest for now. So those are the four players that I would expect to see come through the door first at Celtic if anything should happen. They seem the four most realistic targets at this moment in time, but of course Celtic yet to break through into signing players, but reports are suggesting that they're looking to get the business started very, very soon. So hopefully an exciting transfer window coming up, and hopefully in 3 weeks time I don't need to be making a video about how the Celtic board have let us down once again. So I said that we'd quickly talk about Paulo Bernardo before the end of this video, and in case you missed my live stream last night, there has been a bit of an issue with trying to sign Bernardo permanently. It appears Celtic and Benfica have agreed their transfer fee to make it a permanent signing for the club. However, as Record Portugal reported last night, that the salary is becoming a bit of an issue. Paulo Bernardo's wage has made the transfer to Celtic difficult. That was the headlines. It went on to say that Celtic want him on a permanent basis, but they're having difficulty paying the value of the contract that the midfielder has with Benfica. If you want to hear more about this and you want to see what I said last night, please go and check out the live stream. It was right at the top of the stream, so it's in the opening kind of 5-10 minutes of that, if you want my full rundown and opinion. But I think this is a problem Celtic will eventually solve. It seems to be a problem between the player and the club and not anything else. So everything else seems to be in order. Hopefully they can come to a middle ground on wages and get that sorted. But if you want to hear my opinions, please check out last night's stream. And finally, the last couple of updates on today's news bulletin. Benjamin Siegrist has essentially confirmed his exit from Celtic this summer transfer window. He was speaking with Swiss outlet Bild on his Celtic future and basically said he's out of here. This were his comments, saying that after his last day at work, he'll be leaving as soon as possible and he'll be never coming back. I'm going to retire in Australia, but not yet. His girlfriend has already indicated that she could do her podcast from Europe. We're excited. So he's desperate to get going. Quite blunt, actually. I called it Bild a moment ago. It's actually Bleak. I was thinking of Bild from Germany. But speaking to Bleak, the Swiss outlet, he's basically said he can't wait to get out of Scotland and he's not coming back. So Siegrist is away. And also Gustav Lagerbielke as well. His situation is being weighed up by Italian side Lecce. La Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy has said that Lecce have narrowed down their search for a centre-half down to Lagerbielke and someone else, so he could be leaving as well. We'll get a clarification of his Celtic future very, very soon, I'd imagine, but that could be two of the next Celtic departures, following on from the probable departures of the likes of O, who's in talks with Genk, Mikey Johnson, who you'd assume would be leaving, and maybe another couple as well. So there you go, that's your update on today's news. If you have enjoyed today's video, please make sure to head down below and hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. I hope that you have enjoyed. Not the biggest of news days, not the busiest, but there's a few things out there and some very exciting reports in regards to Celtic's revamped transfer policies. So we'll see how it goes. We'll come back in 3 weeks' time and see. As I said, I'll either be slagging the board off or praising them. Like and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.